Hello and welcome to Horizon Racing League Season 6, Round 9 highlights from Qatar. My name's Chris, otherwise known as Screamlight, going to be taking you through all of the action from the Lusail International Circuit, where default setups is the wildcard in action. But before we get into it, let's take a look at how the season has panned out up to this point. Your mate took yet another race victory in Japan, meaning that he is almost within reach of the title, even with double points round in Las Vegas at the end. He took that victory though by 1.8 seconds, with Bunny's Vengeance in second after making a mistake and getting some track limits penalties. Tommy completed the podium ahead of the Scottish, Vampire, Bazza, Andy, Joker, Mac Chan and Dabasaurus, while Bunny got that Driver of the Day award for just driving clean and consistent. Your mate though leads the way by nearly 60 points ahead of the Scottish, who pulled ahead of Six Pompano. Bunny's Vengeance is starting to pull away in fourth, while Tommy is closing on side steps. Maccha moved into the top 13 with a good result as well. Jimmy Alex, the only one of those three drivers who has driven this season. Stevie and Three Portas yet to drive, but there will be a 32nd driver in the list by the end of this one. Your mate comfortably out in front in Platinum, while the Scottish also gets a little bit of a buffer on 6. Tommy is just 20 behind the Welshman, but pulling away from Vampire in 5th. A no-show for Sykes Snipes means that Bunny's Vengeance moved 12 clear in gold, and if Sykes isn't part of the Qatar race, Bunny will pull ahead further. Andy now leads the way by 20 points in silver after another poor race for Bazza. Vibs and Sign still a little bit of a distance away. Dabasaurus is 22 clear in bronze ahead of Mac-Chan, with Rover trying to catch up. Lewis hasn't raced for a few rounds, and Alfie is still yet to score after his impressive bronze debut. And in D-Class, Joker has moved further ahead of Hydrojax, with Scorn and Jimmy Alex the only other drivers to have scored points in D-Class. As mentioned, there will be another driver to add into the list in D-Class by the end of this race. Ferrari comfortably ahead in the Constructors, though McLaren and Arby are battling for second. Williams, Alpine, Haas, Mercedes, Reserves and Aston all fairly close together, with Sauber and Red Bull a distance off at the back of the pack. So that's where we're at after 8 rounds and a reverse layout round. But let's take a look around the Lusail International Circuit, a circuit primarily designed for motorcycle racing, but adopted by the premier class of motorsport. The Lusail International Circuit, one of the more recent additions to the calendar, 5.419 kilometres with 16 corners. The Scottish has 2 wins, and Sandro Wagner took a Season 5 victory here. The Scottish level pegging with Max Verstappen, who has the most wins here with 2. It's a long start-finish straight with the 1 DRS zone at this particular circuit. As you head down to turn number 1, quite an extensive right-hander. You can roll off the throttle and get back on it fairly quickly, take a little bit of entry curb before heading into turn number 2. Another excuse to just roll off the throttle, take a little bit of exit curb. Turn 3 is that right-hand kink before this slightly longer straight section, and then you're into turns 4 and 5. It's a battle with grip through here. If you try and keep the throttle pinned, you have to roll off before the tight hairpin at 6. Take a lot of entry curb, and you can take some exit curb as well to slingshot yourself out to turn number 7 at the very top of the circuit. 8 and 9 are very slight left-right kinks before heading down into another slightly less tight hairpin at turn number 10. Again, you can roll off and take a little bit more speed there through. You've got a lot of exit to play with as you roll through turn 11, this long left-hander. Up then to turn number 12, turn 13 and turn 14, all of which fairly flat out with maybe just a slight lift off. Turn 15, dab a brake, take a lot of entry curve, and then you're on the home stretch pretty much. You head into 16, one of the slower corners on the circuit, but once again, you can pick up the throttle nice and early, point it straight towards the horizon and get across another lap. So that's how you navigate round Lusail, fast and free-flowing as it is. Let's take a look at the grid order for this one. I'm Your Mate took yet another pole position ahead of Six Pompano. The Scottish qualifying for a change makes third ahead of Vampire and Tommy. Machan is in 6th. Mr. Sacklebicker, debutant, in 7th ahead of Bunny, Rover and Andy. Vibs, Alfie, Bazza and Dabosaurus completely 14 taking part in the desert. Promises to be a fairly interesting race with high tyre degradation and default setups all around. Why don't we head straight over to the race and see how it goes. 1 light, 2 lights, 3 lights, 4 lights and 5. That's a long hold once again, but away we go at Lusail. Already Mr. Sacklebicker is moving backwards. Got a poor start there. I'm Your Mate clean at the front though. Six Pompano clean in second. The Scottish fell back a little bit. Machan, I think, has had a bit of contact with somebody. Dabosaurus has come from 14th to P9. We've got a yellow flag. Cars off in the background. Not sure who it was, but we've got Bazza. There he is. He's off on the gravel. And he's lost his front wing. I don't know who he picked up with, but he's fallen to the back. There goes Alfie. He's lost the rear. He's dropped to 13th. Rover has dropped back as well.
Dan, do an Austria, please.
And let's take a look at a couple of angles of the start. A few little incidents going on all at once. Let's start with Machan in the McLaren. Impressive 6th spot behind the Platinum Class drivers. Immediately gets off the line past Tommy and is looking up the inside of Vampire early. Backs off to avoid a collision. Tommy goes round the outside and there's just a little tap. They both drift, but both of them get away with it and live to fight another day. As we look in the next couple of corners though, Machan now compromised. Mr. Sacklebicker's got past. Bunny's Vengeance got past. A little bit of wheel-to-wheel fighting through the next few corners. Machan eventually getting out ahead of the reserve driver. Let's see what happened to Bazza though. He's heading down into turn 1, gets around Rover, brakes maybe a touch too late, goes into the back of Vibs, who's being a bit more conservative, fires it up into the wall, possibly hoping to DNF the car, but he's off in the gravel and has to make it back round to the pits. And we'll see that from Vibs' perspective as well. He's way outside of his box at the start, didn't manage to get a good parking spot. He gets a decent start off the line. You can see Rover to the left, just trying to make himself a little bit of space. But Vibs brakes maybe a touch early for fear of going to the back of Andy. Gets tapped, bumps the Alpine anyway, but comes out with no damage. And then he's into the next couple of corners, dives up the inside of the Alpine. Really great move from Vibs as he then goes around the outside of Dabosaur as well to get through. We've got Tommy and Vampire going side to side up ahead. It looks like they've got through with no major issues. So Bunny has moved up to 6th, gained a couple of positions there. Machan and Mr. Sacklebicker have moved down 1. Dabosaurus 14th to 10th through the first couple of turns. You can see the top 4 having a bit of a fight about it already, as we saw Machan getting wide in the background, but he's up there with Bunny's Vengeance trying to hunt him down. 28-0, but I'm Your Mate has been passed by Six Pompano. 6 makes a move into T1 and he's through. We've got a yellow flag out in sector 3. I don't know whether that's Bazza just returning to the circuit. But Six Pompano takes the lead. Tommy is going side to side with the Scottish. He's got the move done there as well. The front few deciding to have a bit of a race of it today. Machan goes past Bunny's Vengeance and nearly has the Red Bull past him as well. Default setups throwing a cat amongst the pigeons here for a few people, I think. This little clutch of cars. P6, P7, P8, all very close together. I mean, mate, though, round the final corner, he's going to have DRS. Tommy also going to have DRS, as is the Scottish, but nobody quite close enough to make any moves into turn 1. So let's go back to Matt-Chan and Bunny's Vengeance. Bunny out of the slipstream, down the inside, back up into P6. Andy's got past Dabosaurus further back as well. Take a look at what happened, because it's an unfortunate way to end as Matt-Chan runs wide, and that gives Mr. Sackelbecker an opportunity, and he's round the outside through the turn 6 hairpin. Good move by the Austrian there. Let's see what happened to Matt-Chan for Mr. Sackelbecker to get an opportunity. Running wide in that corner there, Mac, as he's following Bunny's Vengeance, will be caught very much in the dirty air, which is quite difficult around these corners. You can see the car just didn't want to go in, the front end not really with it. Wide out of both corners. Tyres ruined as well. And the Red Bull goes around the outside into the hairpin. Good move from Sackelbecker. Once again, coming to turn 16, and these four still all together, although the Scottish does look to have fallen a little off back. It's maybe burnt the tyres out a little bit. It's as close as I'm your mate's been for a while. It's right on board with the Ferrari. I think he's going to make a move here. 6 stays right to the middle of the road, but I'm your mate is through with the DRS. It looks like Tommy and the Scottish have fallen off a little bit, these two. Let's ride on board with the RB, because it looked like he was almost pushing the Ferrari through. You feel he's going to go for a move into 16, if not before. Look how much more confident he is through this long right-hander. Six doesn't seem phased by the default setups. Tommy's right there as well. So let's watch this on board. Does he get a good run out the final corner? Oh, loses a little bit of ground. But the DRS is going to be open. The RB should easily sail by here. Goes to the outside and he's through. Tommy's going to have a go. We've got a yellow in sector 3. I think Mr. Sackelbecker's had an issue or an incident. He's fallen behind Mac-Chan and Vibs, and Andy might be looking for a move here as well. No, he doesn't make it. Well, let's see what happens to our Austrian debutant. You can just about see him up ahead in turn 16. Gets on the curb, the rear snaps, and he's off into the gravel. Avoids the barrier and carries on. Once again, pulling the gap out to about 5-6 tenths. Coming into the final corner. That seems to be the sweet spot for 6. He can just about hold the Ferrari off behind him. Once again, I'm your mate's going to have DRS. He's going to close. He's going to close. He might actually go for this one, you know. To the outside, 6 Pompano tries to hold the inside line. He's still running with him. They're side by side through turn 1. But 6 is still holding it. Let's ride on board with the RB. Look at the gap between them. But 6 somehow holds the lead through a couple of corners. Great defensive driving by the RB. Let's look at that battle on board with the Ferrari of I'm your mate. You can see he's already round the outside into turn 1. But he's always fighting the car to try and get back in. The smallest of gaps between the pair of them. As 6 Pompano holds round the outside. Keeps it there. I'm your mate nearly clips the front wing, but the move is done. Stay with I'm your mate at the moment though. 6 now in. I'm your mate in. Tommy in. And the Scottish. The Scottish coming in even on the hard tyres. These 4 wanting to stay immediately next to each other. Hey, you can see what the tyres are looking like. It's the front left, really. Well, the Vampire takes the lead. Bunny's Vengeance moves into second. 6 will get out in front. I'm your mate gets out in net second. The Scottish, though, has jumped Tommy as Vibs moves into third and Andy into fourth. But these 4 coming out of the pits. Linus, Stern and Rover could be involved in all this in just a second as well. They get out in front of Rover comfortably in the end. But at the moment, the only person who would lose out if there was contact and they went round would be I'm your mate. He'd be the one that would massively lose out if he gets collected. But we're right on board as they're all just now trading fastest laps. He's going to go to the inside of 6 Pompano here, surely. Yes, he does, but 6 holds it to the outside. Once again, the RB just holding the Ferrari off with some fantastic defensive driving. At this point, Six Pompano will be desperate to get past Vibbs, but he will then get DRS to defend. But Vibbs goes across to the pits. He's going to let I'm Your Mate in. I'm Your Mate alongside. They are side by side down into turn one. The Scottish is going to be watching this with wide eyes as they head into T1. Again, the Six Pompano holds it around the outside. He's still there. What a defensive move there again from Six Pompano. Absolutely phenomenal stuff from the RB, holding the lead of this train for now. But all four of them, throw a blanket on them, they're all together. Second out round two between I'm Your Mate and Six Pompano. This time, I'm Your Mate taking the inside line, knowing that the shallower angle is probably going to benefit him a bit more into turn one. Once again, though, Six Pompano not giving it up with that fight, and they are essentially rubbing wheels as they go into turn two. A little bit of contact. Not too much, maybe have unsettled the Ferrari a touch. And then a little bump draft through three, but six is through. Possibly held up a touch by Vibbs going into the pits and being on worn tyres, but used that to his advantage there, Six Pompano. Spectacular as the Scottish goes for a move and he's round. There's contact and he's round. So Tommy's through. The Scottish is going to have to catch back up, and now Tommy's right on the back of I'm Your Mate. I said there wasn't going to be any dives. I think the Scottish may have looked for it. Thought there was a gap and he didn't quite measure it. Mac-Chan with another 3 seconds as he goes past Rover. Is Rover in the pits? No, Rover's run wide. Not sure what happened there, but he's slipped to 9th. We'll first see what happened to Rover from on board with Mac-Chan. You can see that the Aston Martin moving slowly and is just completely off the road. Picks up a time penalty there, trying to avoid the Aston Martin. But as you can hear, Aston Martin with a puncture. Rover does admirably try and keep the pace up to get back to the pits, but he's got absolutely nothing left. No turn whatsoever. So we'll see him through a few corners to see how bad it is. Punctures fairly common in Qatar with the degradation, but as he rounds the middle section of the lap, he is absolutely struggling, and you can see in the mirror the McLaren is closing, and as soon as he gets into this corner, no turning whatsoever, 2 lost. Didn't quite see what happened between the Ferrari and the McLaren as Mr. Sackelbecker and Mac-Chan going side to side. Mac-Chan's going to go over the inside here. We'll stay on the rear cam. That's good moves there. Gave each other enough racing room. Back on board with Mac-Chan here, with Mr. Sackelbecker behind him once again. These two have duelled for quite a lot of this race to this point, and you can see the Red Bull is up the inside through this long right-hander. But defending his position at the inside, Mac-Chan not happy with the lack of speed of the Red Bull, dives it up the inside at the hairpin and regains the place. Through goes Mac-Chan up into P7, immediately behind the other McLaren, who's 4.4 seconds off the back of Tommy, and Six Pompano is now out of DRS range of I'm Your Mate as Vampire and Bunny's Vengeance go in almost together. There's a 24.3 from Six Pompano. He's flying. Tommy is looking for the move here on I'm Your Mate. Is he going to get close enough into turn one? Late on the brakes. I'm Your Mate holds the inside line. But look at that from Tommy. Right up the inside of the narrowest gap. Vibbs gets a time penalty, but that's no concern right now. There's a little touch. Tommy still mostly alongside, but eventually has to back it off. And I'm Your Mate holds P2 for now. Tommy's going to have another go. He's closer this time. And he might get it done well before the breaking point. Up alongside of the Ferrari, he's through. And into P2. 1.7 seconds though, the gap between the top two. Six Pompano trying to scarper here. Will Tommy be able to go with him? Because I'm Your Mate doesn't seem to quite be on the same level as these two tonight. He's a lot closer to the Aston Martin this time around though. I mean, goes defensive, but it's not enough. I'm your mate is through. The Scottish on the medium tyres is definitely going to need to pit in again. Going on to the mediums hasn't worked out for him. As Mr. Zagelbecker gets the 3 seconds down near the back. Let's take a look there. I thought he was going to be making a move on Rover. Should do this time around as they come across the line. He's right up behind the Aston Martin. Always to get the DRS. Moves to the outside. Davasaurus with 3 seconds at the back. A little bit of a squeeze, but enough. Gets past Rover fairly confidently there. As the Scottish looks to have picked up about 2 seconds on these two in front of him in that lap. Gap down to 1.1 at the front. In fact, nearly a second. I wonder if 6 is struggling with tyres. Or whether he's just trying to drive calmly to make sure that he's not struggling for more time penalties as the Scottish swings out from behind Andy and takes 8th place back. He'll be hunting down Vibbs immediately. The gap at the front 1.2 as the Scottish and Vibbs are side by side. It looks like the Scottish has got that one done. Through he goes. 4 seconds to his teammate up in 6th. We'll see the Scottish's move on Vibbs from Vibbs' perspective. Into turn 1, you can see the McLaren. So much more grip, so much more traction. But Vibbs is not going to immediately give the place up. Scottish looking up the inside through 2 and then in through 3. Goes diving up the inside. Vibbs, however, knows he's still alongside. Tries to hang it around the side. The Scottish is through. Andy on the back of Vibbs as they come through the final corner. 24-1 from the Scottish. Let's look at Andy. Is he going to make the move? Vibbs goes defensive, so Andy's going to have to go around the outside, but it's... I was going to say it's all done. But Vibbs holds it on the inside into turn 1. Matt Chan now with a 3-second time penalty. They're still side by side here. And Vibbs holds the position. Brilliantly done, but Andy's got so much better traction. And he's through and in front.
You should be feeling the effects of some tyre
We saw that battle between Andy and Vibbs from Andy's perspective on the live broadcast. Let's look at it from Vibbs' perspective as well. Side by side through 1, side by side through 2. Once again, the smallest of margins between the two of them as they hit turn 3. No contact still. They're still running side by side. Andy, though, manages to pull ahead, and Vibbs spooks him a touch. Scottish in the chrome livery. Mac Chan in the normal one. Bunny and Vampire hold station. Feel the McLarens. Yeah, Mac Chan runs wide as I'm Your Mate picks up yet another 3-second time penalty. That makes it 9. Which I think means he'd fall behind Tommy Ash as well. So I'm Your Mate really struggling this evening with default setups around Qatar. So we're right on board with I'm Your Mate, although Tommy... Oh, I'm Your Mate's pitting in. I'm Your Mate is in the pits. Tyres must be shot. You feel it's probably the same for 6, who's on lap 26 now. But Tommy is now within a second of him. 6 may just try and run this out. And his Vengeance also doesn't look close enough to have a go at Vampire, but they've got a Ferrari now looming large in their mirrors. Oh, Bunny might have a go here, you know. Is he going to be close enough? Is he going to be close enough? Goes late. He's up the inside. Vampire breaks late. Manages to hold it on the outside and then blocks Bunny off into the next corner. But this is all just allowing I'm Your Mate to close up to the back of them. Davasaurus with another 3 seconds. But Bunny's Vengeance is still fighting it. Looked like he was going to go for the inside line. Decides against it. But look how quickly I'm Your Mate is there, and Vampire now picks up a 3 seconds. Bunny, the only person in the top 7 who's yet to get a penalty, but I'm Your Mate just sides his way up the inside at turn 6. And he's through, and I'm sure he's going to get past Vampire pretty much instantaneously, because look how much the Mercedes is struggling. People trying to run tyres out to the end here might not work out for them. Possibly a little bump there, but through goes I'm Your Mate. Look at that double overtake from on board with I'm Your Mate through a few corners. First up the inside at turn number 6 to get past Bunny's Vengeance. Easy done with the absolutely fresher tyres. Following Vampire now through this mid-section. It's right, left, right again. And he's almost pushing the Mercedes along. Having to back off knowing that he's got much more pace at this stage. Vampire really trying desperately to hold him off. On the battery though. Goes from one side to the other. He's past the Mercedes. Tommy, not close enough that time around to have a crack. 6 Pompano Vampire, there's going to look up the inside of Mate into turn 1. They're side by side. No contact. But Vampire can't make the move. Tommy's going to have one more shot at trying to get past 6 Pompano on the road here. So they're closing up to the back of Dabasaurus. It's right on board with the Aston Martin. Oh, he is definitely close enough to have a go. He's going to go to the inside. But 6 is going to brake later and just hold off. Tommy not going for the dive up the inside. Which you feel may have been a mistake there. As the Scottish now is going to be looking at the back of the Williams of Bunny's Vengeance. Rover picks up another 3 seconds. We're on the final lap of this one. Let's watch these guys. Mate with a 23.941. But the Scottish is going to go up the inside of Bunny's Vengeance. Knows he's really just got to hang on. Everybody in front of him with time penalties. As the Scottish completes the move. The gap, what, 4, 5 seconds between Mate and Bunny's Vengeance? Which at the moment we'll see Bunny's Vengeance take 3rd place. But into the last couple of corners. Watch how that timing tower is going to rapidly change at the end of this one. But 6 Pompano rounds turn 16 and will claim his first victory of the season. Tommy Ash will come home in 2nd. Mate's going to come home 3rd on the road, but I think he's going to lose out to Bunny's Vengeance, who's down in 6th. With the amount of time penalties he's got, let's see what happens. Mate comes around the final corner. Will finish P3 on the road. As Vampire and the Scottish come around the corner. As does Bunny's Vengeance. Let's see how this changes. Vampire now 3rd. The Scottish is down to 6th. Bunny's Vengeance takes 3rd with time penalties. Vampire is 4th. Mate is 5th. Scottish is 6th. Machan 7th on the road, but I think he's going to be jumped by Andy, who doesn't pick up time penalties. Yep, Andy will take 7th. It's going to be Vibs next across the line. He will take P9. Dabasaurus' day is already done. Mr. Sacklebecker will take P10 on debut. Rover will take P11 in the Aston Martin, but 6 Pompano takes the victory. So that was Qatar, the default setups, really throwing a spanner in the works for a lot. But it was 6 Pompano that came out with victory and driver of the day for his defensive output. Tommy and Bunny's Vengeance complete the podium ahead of Vampire and I'm Your Mate. Scottish, Andy, Machan, Vibs and Mr. Sacklebecker on debut, all picking up points. But that doesn't really stop I'm Your Mate pulling further ahead. It's 61 points now ahead of 6 Pompano. The Scottish falls to 3rd, 3 points behind the Welshman. Bunny passes 100 points while Tommy moves up into 5th place. Mr. Sacklebecker straight up into 24th. And that pushes Scornful Griffin to 29th, Jimmy, Stevie and 3 Portas to 30th, 31st and 32nd respectively. Mate is 44 clear in Platinum ahead of the Scottish, 6 Pompano a little bit further behind in 3rd. Tommy breaks the 100-point barrier in Platinum. Vampire just 2 points off the Century. Bunny's Vengeance pulls even further away. It's a 34-point gap to Psych Snipes, with Perpetual and Psych Snipes not driving in this one. Pulls further away in silver as well after Baz's DNF. Vibs picks up some points and is 20 points off the Century. Sign didn't drive in Qatar. Dabasaurus holds his lead in bronze though. Machan is starting to pull that gap back in. Rover sits 3rd with Lewis and Alfie, who went part of Qatar. And in D-Class, Joker still holds the lead ahead of Hydrojacks, though Mr. Sacklebecker moves immediately into third with a D-Class victory ahead of Scornful Griffin and Jimmy Alex, the rest of them with 8 points in that classification. And in the Constructors, Ferrari lead the way ahead of McLaren. There is no points between McLaren and RB, they are level in second and third. Williams, Alpine, Mercedes, Aston Martin and Haas now all ahead of our reservists, while Sauber and Red Bull still languish at the bottom. But that was Qatar, just 2 rounds left, and next time out it's Abu Dhabi, followed by a double points race at Vegas. Thank you so much for watching. Like, share, comment, subscribe. I'll catch you for the next one. Take care.